back to the YouTube channel of Pro Enzo Vid, and this is my Mãori vs Indigenous All Stars 2022 match review. The Mãori side got the win tonight, winning 16 points to 10, so 6-point victory, and the Mãori All Stars are the team that takes victory this year in 2022. They're the ones that lift up the Preston Campbell, the trophy, I'm pretty sure. So it was a great game, and I really loved it. I was actually live on the Rugby League Roundup YouTube channel, so if you guys did tune in, thanks for that, because Rugby League Roundup, my good friend, when I was live with him, he actually got about 12 new subscribers and reached 50 subscribers, so that's a very big achievement for his channel. So very good to see there. And it was a good night overall. It was just fantastic. The game and all that was just good to see. Obviously today I've got a bit more subscribers myself, got to 1,410 subscribers, so thanks to those new people who have kept subscribing. But time to get into the actual review now. So I will say, first of all, it was a very physical opening sort of game. Like, I just love the intensity of it all. It was talked about being a big game. I know a lot of players were out, like a lot of key players were out, but it was still a fantastic game nonetheless. I was really impressed with how both teams went. I think Mãori played pretty well. I thought Indigenous played pretty well. Both teams were very physical and gave it their all. I guess the only downside of the whole game was the errors. I mean, there was errors on both sides, but I guess because it was wet conditions, it makes a bit of sense. So, I guess that makes a bit of sense with all the errors and everything. But yeah, I guess it's not the most cleanest looking match when there's about 50 to 60 errors per the whole game had like about 50 or 60 errors in total at least. Like, I don't know how many errors there were. I'll go check that after the stats and everything, but far out, there was heaps of errors and it was just a bit messy. But other than that, the game was still very good. It was still a great game to watch. I was still very happy as a fan to be watching that sort of game. I wasn't really rooting for any sort of sides, and I wasn't really going for Mãori or Indigenous. I was more of a, well, I might be a bit biased in saying this, but I was more going for the Manly boys, Morgan Harper and Dylan Walker. I was more backing them to go well, more than supporting an actual side in this game. So that's who I was sort of cheering on more. So it was a good game overall. But what I'm about to do is I'm about to go through every player from both sides. So first of all, I'll bring up the champions, the Mãori All Stars team, and I'll go through their whole 1 through to 23. I'm pretty sure it is, and give a rating out of 10 for each player. So time to give my ratings for the Mãori All Stars team. Going through the Mãori All Stars player ratings now. So the fullback's obviously Jordan Rapana. I'd give Jordan Rapana probably a solid 5 or 4 out of 10. Probably a 5. Didn't really have a really amazing game, but did a job at least. But, got in quite a bit of trouble, so that's not good. So we'll see if he gets any suspensions. The wingers are Morgan Harper and Patrick Herbert. I think Harper, to start off with, was really good. Looked very good defence and seemed to go alright there. Had a bit of a sore shoulder at first, but looked alright afterwards. So I'll give him a solid 5 out of 10 as well as a performance. And then the other winger, Patrick Herbert, was a bit more quiet, but I thought Herbert did a job at least. So I think for me, Patrick Herbert gets a 4 out of 10 at best. Then the centres are Dylan Walker and Remus Smith. I'll start with Walker. Walker was very good, I thought. I thought Walker had more of an impact in the middle than he did in the centres, but overall, he looked very good, actually. He looked like he was primed for a big game, and I thought he did really well. So I'd give Walker's game a 7 out of 10. And with Remus Smith, I thought he was pretty good as well. I think he was decent on that right-hand side, and I gotta say his defense, like Walker's, was pretty good. So I'll give Smith probably a solid 6 out of 10 as well, 6.5. The halves are Chanel Harris-Tavita and Cody Nikorima. Look, I don't think these two are anything great, to be honest, but they did enough to get the win for Mãori in the end. Harris-Tavita's performance was a bit worse than Nikorima's, so I'll give Harris-Tavita probably a 3 out of 10. I know it's a bit harsh, but I just don't think he had a real impact in the game at all. Harris-Tavita struggled to really find his feet. Cody Nikorima, the halfback, I'll give Nikorima probably a 5 out of 10. Had a slow start to the game, but got better when time went. Now onto the forward pack. So the props, Joseph Tarpany and James Fisher-Harris. I'll start with Tarpany. Tarpany for me gets he was the Preston Campbell medal winner, so I think he gets a 10 out of 10 performance for me. And he was really good as well, so I thought he deserves a lot of raps. So Tarpany, a 10 out of 10 performance by myself. The other prop was James Fisher-Harris, and I think Fisher-Harris as well gets a fair rating. I liked Fisher-Harris, looked very aggressive and bring a lot of strength to that Mãori All Stars team. So I think Fisher-Harris, for me, gets an 8 out of 10. And the hooker, Aaron Clark, to be honest, I don't think I really saw much of Aaron Clark. I think he was a little bit disappointing, didn't really seem to create a whole lot. So for me, I give Aaron Clark maybe a 4 out of 10. I'll give Aaron Clark a solid 4 out of 10. Now, the back rows are Kenny Bromwich and Brendan Nikora. I've got to say, Kenny Bromwich wasn't that bad, but wasn't as good as what Nikora was. I thought Nikora played absolutely out of his skin, was fantastic. And I thought Nikora could have actually won the Preston Campbell medal himself, to be honest. But yeah, I give Kenny Bromwich a 5 out of 10, and I give Nikora a 9.5 out of 10. That's how good I think Nikora played. The lock was Jastavaga. Jastavaga did nothing really. He was a bit of a statue during the game, to be honest. Didn't really create a whole lot. So I'll give Jastavaga probably a 3.5 out of 10. Onto the bench, Esau Masters, Royce Hunt, TC Rabati, Kevin Proctor. Esau Masters scored a try, and I thought he was all right for the time he was on the field. So I'll give Esau Masters probably a 5 out of 10 actually. Royce Hunt was pretty good, seemed to bring a bit of energy and bring a bit of impact to that Maori team. So I think he gets probably a solid 5 as well. Tisa Rabati, didn't really see much of him, to be honest, so I'll give him a 2 out of 10. I don't think he really came on at all, or only played a couple of minutes. And the last one's Kevin Proctor. I thought Proctor was good, apart from a couple of errors, but I'll still give Proctor probably a 5.5 out of 10. Then the rest is Tukapua, Hao Tupahua. I'll give him probably a 2 out of 10. Didn't really see much of him play. I don't think he even played at all, to be honest. Didn't really see him. And then the other players are Jay Nikarima and Waiamu Greig. I'll give them to both 4 out of 10s at best. On to our Indigenous All Stars player ratings now. So going from the fullback, Will Kennedy. I thought it was all right. I think he had a fair bit of involvement. So I'll give him a solid 6 out of 10. I think he was pretty good. The wingers are Hamiso, Tabuai Fidel, and Josh Adokar. Hamiso, for me, gets a solid 5 out of 10. It was fairly in the game. Did an all right job, I thought, defending-wise. So I think it's a 5 out of 10. The Adokar, the other winger, I thought it was a bit quiet, to be honest. I think he was a captain, which is good, but he didn't really have the biggest game. That's probably because he didn't get much ball, so that's not his fault. But he was still alright, so I give Adokar maybe just a solid 5 out of 10 as well. And then the centres are Brent Naden, Jesse Ramey and Brent Naden. For me, Jesse Ramey was really good. I thought he was on fire, to be honest. I really think he had a big game. I thought he was really good, and he seemed to really beat every opposition player. Like, every player that tried to attempt to tackle him, he just would beat pretty easily. I'll give Jesse Ramian's game a 7 out of 10. I rate him pretty highly. And now the other centre, Brent Naden, a bit like Adokar, they're on the same side. Didn't really get much ball, so they weren't really in the game too much. Naden, but I still think he was all right. I didn't think he did anything bad. Had a couple of all right yardage runs. So I give probably Brent Naden maybe just a 4.5 out of 10 for Brent Naden. The halves are Nico Hines and Braden Trindle. Nico Hines was up and down, I thought he started the game all right, then around the second quarter kind of faded away a bit and was good again, faded away a bit, good again, faded away a bit. So he was a bit up and down during the game, Nico Hines. But yeah, for me, I give him a 5.5 out of 10. Wasn't his best performance, but he was all right. And then the other half, Braden Trindle. Just in my opinion, I don't think Braden Trindle did a whole lot, to be honest. I thought Braden Trindle was a bit quiet. Like, he was very quiet, I thought. So I reckon Trindle gets a 4 out of 10 for me. And the props were Andrew Fafita and Ryan James. Fafita was all right. I think Andrew Fafita, for me, was, he was good for some parts, but didn't really do a whole lot for the other parts. But I'll give Fafita's game probably a solid 4.5 out of 10 as well. Hooker Ruben Cotter. Actually, no, I'll start with Ryan James quickly first. Ryan James, for me, was... I think he didn't really have the biggest start, did he? Like, I thought he was quiet as well. Didn't really get himself really involved in the game early on, but around the end of the game, like the third or fourth quarter, he seemed to really get more involved. So I think that's when Ryan James was good, but I think overall in general, I'll give Ryan James a 5 out of 10. And then the hooker, Ruben Cotter, I didn't think Ruben Cotter did a whole lot, to be honest. I wasn't really big on Ruben Cotter during the whole game, so I think he gets a 3 out of 10 for me. Back rows, David Fafita and Tyrell Fulimeano. David Fafita was excellent. I thought Fafita, this was one of Fafita's best games, or not one of his best games, but it was definitely one of his best All Stars games, I would say. And he was very dominant. Like, he made that early line break in the first quarter. Looked very hard to stop once again. Absolute freak. I think Fafita gets a 7 out of 10 for me as well. And then the other back row, Tyrell Fulimeano, wasn't really as impactful as what Fafita was. Didn't really have the same impact, but I thought he was still doing a fair job out there when he was playing. So Fulimeano for me gets a 4 out of 10. And the lock was Josh Curran. I thought Josh Curran had a pretty decent game. Looked very tough, and he's a very underrated player too. I reckon Curran gets a solid 6 out of 10. And then the bench, Albert Kelly, Will Smith, Jermaine Tanua-Brown, and Josh Kerr. Albert Kelly was good when he was on. I think he got a 40-20 as well, actually, Albert Kelly, around the third quarter or something, so that was pretty good. I'll give Albert Kelly a 5 out of 10, just a solid 5. Will Smith wasn't anything amazing, I thought. Unfortunately, he got a bit concussed around the second quarter, I'm pretty sure. Didn't really do a whole lot, to be honest, so I'll give Will Smith maybe just a 3.5 out of 10. Jermaine Tanua-Brown, didn't really see much of JTB, to be honest. Didn't really see him do anything amazing, but I will give him a solid 4 out of 10. And Josh Kerr, the final bench player, I'd give him just a solid 5. I thought he was pretty good as well. And then the reserves were Selwyn Cobbo, Tyrell Sloan, and Shaquai Mitchell. I thought Cobbo was good. I actually thought Cobbo was really good, actually. When he had the ball, he looked pretty hard to tackle. So I think Cobbo was decent in his first sort of real first grade game, or I should say first sort of real All Stars game. I'd give Cobbo probably a 5 out of 10. Tyrell Sloan, well, if you're watching Rugby League Roundups live stream, the game like the live stream of the game he was doing with me, you would have seen that he was backing Tyrell Sloan to go for a try the whole game, and he finally got one. So yeah, it was good to see him get a try, and I was pretty happy, because obviously Rugby League Roundup was sort of rooting for him to score the whole game, and he finally did it. So I think Sloan was good. I think in general he was good. So I think Sloan for me gets a 5.5 out of 10 as well. And the last one, Shaquai Mitchell, Latrell Mitchell's brother. Shaquai was pretty good. Seemed to make a couple of good big runs. I thought. I think he was all right in defence and just making some good hit ups overall. Probably give him just a 5 out of 10 as well. But yeah, that's my ratings for both the Mãori and Indigenous sides. So overall, for my top 3 players on ground, in my opinion, I'll go number 1 to number 3. So number 1, I'd go with probably Cody Nikorima from the Mãori All Stars. I think he gets a point for me in this top 3. Being one of the top 3 players on ground. I think he was pretty solid for the Mãori All Stars team. Obviously a bit of a slow start, but then he was much more better during the game. So I think Nikorima definitely made a statement, and definitely would definitely be in contention to partner Sean Johnson, the halves of the Warriors this year. There's no doubt the performance he had, he'd be up there. Number 2, I'd go number 2 being someone from the Indigenous side. I thought Jesse Raymond was really good. I thought Jesse Raymond was actually excellent. I thought he had a really good game. Was really strong out there. It was very hard to tackle. Looked like he was just. It looked like you couldn't really handle him, like he was just everywhere. He was a bit of a nuisance to that Mãori All Stars team at times. So, I think he gets a fair rap for me, Jesse Raymond. So I give him 2 points. And for my third one, so the one that I think gets the most points and the best player of the whole game, obviously, Jones Harpenny won the Preston Campbell medal and was the best player on ground, which is fair. But I'd also tie it with Bryn Nakora from the Mãori All Stars team. I thought Bryn Nakora was absolutely out of this world. Like, this is probably one of the best performances I've ever seen Bryn Nakora play. I thought he was really good. I thought his impact out there was pretty strong. He just, every time he would beat the opposition player. Like, when he was at one-on-one with a player, he'd always beat them. He'd always get around them, always put a good fend on them or something like that. This was a really good performance by Bryn Nakora, one of the best I've probably ever seen from him, to be honest. So, fair shout to Bryn Nakora for a good game for the Mãori All Stars. So, yeah, I was really impressed with him, to be honest. But yeah, this is my review on the whole game itself. It was a very tough physical game with a bit of wet conditions, but it was still a very good game. I really enjoyed it. The Indigenous entertainment, pre-game entertainment. You know, the dance was pretty good, and I thought the Mãori All Stars team's haka was actually excellent as well. So always good every year, never disappoints the haka. So yeah, this is my review on the Indigenous versus Mãori All Stars 2022 All Stars match. If you enjoyed, make sure you do like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and let me know what your general thoughts on the game. Let me know in the comment section down below.